In this episode of Crushed Custard, the second part of a look through the 12-inch singles collection.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of Crushed Custard. It's part 2 of the what's he got in his 12-inch singles collection. And let's dive straight in. I'm sure if you've seen the first video, you'll know the format. We'll just take a look and see what it is. I'm looking at these for the first time in a number of years as well, so I'm not 100% sure what's coming up myself. We'll just have a little chat about each one. If there's a story to tell, I'll maybe tell it. And what have we got first? Alcatraz. Island in the Sun, General Hospital and Suffer Me. This was the band that Graham Bullitt and Ingrid Malmsteen put together a while after he left Rainbow. But anyway, this Alcatraz, I've never been a fan of Ingrid Malmsteen at all, really. I really don't know why I bought it, but there you go. Island in the Sun, Alcatraz. Now, if anybody was watching the first episode of this, which I hope you were, you'll remember I showed you an Ozzy Osbourne 12-inch in gold vinyl, and I said it had been tarnished, presumably because of the packaging it had been kept in. But then I've got a silver one as well somewhere. Well, here's the silver one. Now, look at that. That looks lovely, doesn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Silver disc. But look at the back. The back's gone all nasty and horrible. And I think that must be something to do with the whatever they coated it in, and this plastic sleeve that it came in, which is one of those plastic ones, not the sort of like poly whatever things they are that you get now. So taking it out to have a little look, you can see that the one side is really nice. I'll have to test it and see if we can get it to play maybe. I don't know what side 2 would be like though, because that's pretty naff, so maybe that side can get put in a frame and put in a water, and then I'll get visitors there saying, oh, I didn't know you were in Ozzy Osbourne's band. Okay, next up is another interesting one. This is a Joe Walsh 12-inch. Now, this is almost a sampler, really, rather than a 12-inch. It's designated as a 12-inch thing. It's got 4 tracks on it. It's got Rocky Mountain Way, Turn to Stone, Meadows, and then a live version of Walk Away. And it says on the back here, Joe Walsh is a native New Yorker who first played guitar in high school. He studied at Ohio's Kent State University but left early to join a local band. 2 years later, he was invited to join the now legendary James Gang. It was during this period with the James Gang that Pete Townsend became the first superstar to bring attention to Walsh's outstanding prospects. 6 years later, Joe is brilliantly leading the Eagles from behind his dazzling guitar and has so far recorded 4 solo LPs for ABC Anchor, Barnstorm, The Smoky You Drink, The Play You Get, So What, and the most recent one, You Can't Argue with a Sick Mind, which is a live LP. The tracks presented on this EP, 12-inch EP, Rocky Mountain Way, Turn to Stone, Walk Away, and Meadows reflect the power and ability of Joe Walsh's solo career, are an indication of how outstanding he has been on record since leaving the Gang in 1971. The music world now holds Joe Walsh as a member of the elite Guitar Hero Club. Few can match him. Few would try. There you go. There's a little 4-track sampler of Joe Walsh's solo stuff in a series that I think must have been called Plus 4s. Because there you can see in the corner it's got Plus 4s 99 pence. Good value, I should say. Next up, we got this one, Blackfoot. Now, this is an interesting one as well. This is a track called Send Me an Angel, but it's the B-side that was of most interest to me. A track called Driving Full, but most importantly, a cover of Free's Wishing Well. Now, I saw these, I saw them in a hall somewhere, I can't remember where, but I also saw them at a festival. With Donington, I think it must have been a Donington. I don't think it was Nebworth. It must have been a Donington I saw them at, and they were really, really good. And I quite like them, and I went out and bought a couple of their albums and singles and stuff, and this is great. Send Me an Angel full-length version, and there's a free poster in this as well. And looking in here, that's not in there, so that obviously went on the wall in my little studio thing, so it's probably in that folder with all the rest of them. Perhaps I have to dig that out one day, and we'll have a look through that as well. Pat Benatar next. Love is a Battlefield extended remix, and Here's My Heart, and the ordinary version of Love is a Battlefield on the back. Nice pleasant cover of Pat Benatar. Yeah, that's a pretty good track. You know what you're going to get with a Pat Benatar track, don't you? Next up, If M. Now, If M are a band that I came to via the band that most of them were in before, called Wildlife, which was Steve and Chris Overland and some other people. But Simon Kirk from Bad Company was their drummer for their second album, and Mick Rouse produced their second album. It was a cracking album. I thought it was brilliant. Didn't sell though, didn't do any good at all. I saw them supporting somebody, and I thought they were really good. But they sort of like then morphed into FM, maybe in the same sort of way that Thunder came out of Terraplane. These lot changed from Wildlife to FM, and it was pretty much the same sort of stuff. Everybody knows who FM are now. And Steve Overland's a great singer in that sort of Paul Rodgers-y type mold, which is what sort of drew me to him in the first place. And he's done tons of stuff with loads and loads of different names and bands with loads of different sort of names on, and he's well worth listening. But this goes right back to the beginning of the FM days. Frozen Heart, the extended mix with Frozen Heart and Dangerous recorded live on the B-side. There they are with all the obligatory bad hair, big hair days that just started to come. And that, as you can see on the front there, cost me the princely sum of 25 new pence. Goodness me, 25 pence. Next up, Foreigner 4, from Foreigner 4 anyway, Urgent. On the B-side, live versions of Head Games and Hot Blooded, so again that will be the reason why I picked that up. Probably also due to the fact it was ridiculously cheap as well. Limited edition 12-inch single for the price of a 7-inch single. There you go, picture some of the other albums on the back, and a 12-inch single with a polyline sleeve as well, so that was good back in the day. Now on to one of my biggies, Free. Now around the time, I think this is around the time that Paul Rodgers was doing the Law album cover, they started to remix and reissue some of the Free tracks. I think it was it was Chris Sangarides who did the sort of remixing and all that sort of thing. Bob Clearmountain might have been involved in some others as well at some point, but this one was Chris Sangarides, and it was a remix of Wishing Well. But again, the main thing for me at the time was the B-side, which was two live versions of Woman and Walk in My Shadow. Now you must remember at the time, the only recorded stuff we got from Free, any legal recordings, we got bootlegs. I've got a cupboard full of bootleg cassettes and a couple of bootleg LPs, but the only recorded stuff we got live from Free was the Free live album. To be fair, we haven't got that much more now, but at that point the Free live album was just 7 songs really, because the 8th track on it was a studio version, it was a studio track which they faded into after the final track on the album. So to get hold of 2 more live tracks was brilliant. Since then, of course, they've expanded the Free live album, and these are now on that, and also there was a live disc came out in the Songs of Yesterday box set, which I'm going to be looking at soon as well. And also there's a really good one of those sort of like slightly dodgy releases that's come out, which has got the Granada Doing Their Thing performance on one LP, and the other LP has got a concert from Sweden or Holland, I can't remember where it is off the top of my head, and that is pretty good as well. But again, there is supposedly a 4 album box set worth of stuff, of live Free stuff, that is ready to be released, but Paul Rogers doesn't want to release it for some reason, so I don't know why, but there you go. But it would be great to get hold of that, wouldn't it? Because, I mean, honestly, some of the bootlegs I've got, yeah, all right, the quality's not that brilliant in some places, but you can, every time this band, you don't know this band, I don't know where have you been for a start off, but if you don't know this band, every time they played a track live, they played it slightly differently. There's no two versions the same. There's always a little bit of difference in the way that Paul Rogers sang it, the way that he phrased things, a little bit of difference with the guitar or the bass or whatever, and the solos would change length. Yeah, I mean, it's criminal that there isn't more live, free stuff out there, simply because we want to hear more live Custard. I mean, Paul Rogers is always brilliant, and so are the rest of them, but there's not that much live Paul Kossoff stuff around. There's a decent Backstreet Crawler live album as well, which is worth getting hold of if you're a Kossoff fan. But there you go, that's all we got this for. Wish him well. Pretty decent remix by Chris Sangarides, and then two great live tracks on the back, which had been left off the free live album. Free again now, and this is again a sort of remix thing of All Right Now. But if you remember, this was actually what my introduction to Free was, that famous 7-inch EP, All Right Now, Wishing Well on My Brother Jake, and this is a rehashed version of it on picture disc. There's a timer thing on the back there, and then individual pictures on the front. All Right Now, My Brother Jake, and Wishing Well. But there is an interesting thing here. They have used I say it's the wrong. They may have done it on purpose. I can't remember. It's a totally different version of Wishing Well, and it's totally different altogether. If you've been looking at this and thinking, oh, I don't know, get hold of it, because it is not the same version of Wishing Well that is on all the other stuff. It's a totally different recording. Paul Rogers again next, and after the Firm, I attempted a band called The Law with Kenny Jones, formerly of The Who, and this is interesting because this will be the last bit of new vinyl, I think, that I bought, because by the time the album came out, I'd gone to CD, and I bought the album on CD, and I didn't get the album on vinyl until last year when I managed to pick one up. So this was the crossover time for me. So obviously the single and the 12-inch came out before the album. I bought this, and then when the album came out, I got a CD player, so I bought it on CD, which was supposedly the way to go. Or the reason why this is good as well is because it's got a track on the back called That's When You Fall, which isn't on the album as well. So, good stuff. AC/DC next. Pay no more than £1.15 for this record, and I'm sure I didn't. Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution and Hell's Bells covers of it battered. As you can see, I think it got played a heck of a lot. I'm pretty sure I probably put it in that sleeve myself because the sleeve had broken, but I think that got played quite a bit back in the day. There, Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution and Hell's Bells. Nothing particularly special about it. As you may have gathered, I'm sitting on a bit of a squeaky stool today. I'm trying to sort of figure out the best way to do all the lighting and all that. So if you hear some funny noises, it's the stool squeaking, that's all. Next up, and again, some people might say I should put this in the purple section, but no, because of course those famous t-shirts that all those members of White Snake had made saying no, I wasn't in deep purple. Bernie Marsden's Alaska, Susie Blue and Headlines and Coupe de Ville on the B-side. Great little band, Alaska. I think I saw them. That must have been at Donington's, or was it Nebworth, where they were the opening band? It might have been Nebworth when Purple played. But there you go. Susie Blue's a great track. I mean, Bernie Marsden doesn't write bad tracks, does he? On Music for Nations as well, if you remember that. So there you go. Bernie Marsden's Alaska, Susie Blue. Well, that's a Paul Young again. Now he was in episode 1. I've got two more. I'll pick up two together. This time we've got Everything Must Change and Give Me My Freedom. Of course, for those of you who are wondering what I'm doing with Paul Young in my collection, I'm a big fan of Paul Young, and I think I'm one of the things that got me to appreciate him a lot. I like the Q-Tips, because the Q-Tips album was really good, but also one of his main influences, of course, was the greatest singer of all time, Mr. Paul Rodgers. Tomb of Memories next. This one is a little bit more interesting than that last one, because this has got a couple of live tracks on it. It's got Tomb of Memories, a single mix, and Man in the Iron Mask from the Secret Association album. I think it's his second solo album, but then he's got a live version of Bite the Hand That Feeds and No Parlay on side 2. So these 12-inch singles back in the day in the 80s, they were well worth getting. So they've all got something, well, most of the time they got something a little bit different on as well, which made them worth buying. Robert Plant again now. Robert Plant featured in the last episode as well. This is Big Log from his second solo album, Principle of Moments. It's a big hit from, of course, wasn't it? Big Log. And on the B side we got Messing with the Mekon and Stranger Here Than Over There. One of the things about Robert Plant that's always astounded me is that his titles sometimes got absolutely nothing to do with the song whatsoever, and it sometimes makes it difficult to remember which one's which a lot of the time, because you're thinking, why is it called that? Anyway, there you go. Big Log. Why is it called Big Log? Goodness only knows. But anyway, it is called Big Log, and I remember that my mother heard it on the top of the pops or something, and she thought he was singing My Life Is Liltingly Quiet. I don't think he is singing My Life Is Liltingly Quiet, but again, one of the reasons why, with my sort of vocalist, I'm a big fan of Robert Plant, but one of my negatives for him is that sometimes it can be quite difficult to work out what he's actually saying, whereas you've got the sort of perfect diction of Paul Rodgers and people like that. Some of those Zeppelin tracks, for years I was thinking he was saying something totally different to what he really was. More on Plant next, Little by Little. This time this is off the Now and Zen album. No, it's not Shaken and Stirred, this one's off. So that's a little bit later, Little by Little remix, long version, and then on side 2, a couple of live tracks, Easily Led and Do a Do Do I Do or something. Yeah, all great stuff. I'm Robert Plant. In the 80s, I saw him in a lot of different places. I saw him playing smaller places like sort of like the Warwick Arts Centre, and I saw him playing the NEC. He played all sorts of places, and he always put on a great show. It was always entertaining night when you went to see Robert Plant, even if you couldn't always tell what he was saying. But there you go. That's a good one, Little by Little. More Robert Plant now, In the Mood. This is another great track from the Principle of Moments album, and there's a couple of live tracks on the rest of this as well. Pledge Pin and Horizontal Departure, live from Dallas, Texas on the back. And interesting band he got at the time as well, because he got Robbie Blunt, who is in my collection through Bronco and Jess Roden, and then you got Paul Martinez, who was the bass player in Pace Ashton and Lord, and of course you got Phil Collins from Genesis on the drums. Add to that, let's give a name check to Bob Mayo and Jeff Woodruff as well, the man sporting the magic moustache, and there you go, there's a picture of them on the back. Robert Plant, In the Mood. More Robert Plant, Heaven Knows, this time with Walking Towards Paradise and a live version of Big Log on the back. And finally, the last one in this little section, I don't think we're quite as long today as yesterday, and this is another Robert Plant. This is a later one though, this one, and I think I must have picked this one up at a record fair or something, because I've gone over to CD by now, because this is from Fate of Nations, which, as much as I like those early Robert Plant solos, I think they are really, really good. I think Fate of Nations is far away his best solo record. He's absolutely brilliant. There's not a bad track on it at all. And the thing with this one is Calling to You, Robert Plant Calling to You. I've got a CD single. There's I think about 7 different versions of Calling to You on it. This one has as well. It's got 3 mixes on the front, on side A, and 3 different mixes on the back as well. And the writing's too small for me to be able to read them. So what I'm going to do is get the cover actually and bring the cover up there, and then you can all see for yourself what they are. There you go, that's it. I did say at the beginning of the first one of these that I haven't got a huge 12-inch singles collection. We've got the purple related ones to do in the next episode, and they'll just be Deep Purple, Rainbow, White Snake and Gillen. See what we got from them in the 12-inch pot, and that'll be about it. So you're enjoying your bank holiday weekend if you're in the UK. I know it's a bank holiday weekend anywhere, everywhere else, but wherever you are and whatever you're doing, have a good time, and we'll be back with more crushed custard very soon indeed. So from me and my Easter Playboy bunny, Barbie Benson, we'll say goodbye until next time.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Crushed Custard. Please like and subscribe as it will help the channel to grow. See you soon.